Looking at a new indictment of an ex-Philadelphia fraud investigator, also a sitting council member's grandson who has just been indicted for taking bribes, Jeffrey Blackwell, former employee at the city controller's office, has been indicted. Jeffrey is a member of a very influential Philadelphia political dynasty. He is the grandson of Democrat Lucien Blackwell and the step-grandson of current council member, another Democrat, Janny Blackwell. It's the picture here of Janny Blackwell with Bill Clinton. Another picture here of Janny Blackwell with Democrat Senator and presidential candidate Cory Booker. Jeffrey Blackwell once investigated fraud for the city. He has now been charged with perpetrating fraud himself. Jeffrey Blackwell took bribes and kickbacks exceeding $22,000 while working as a government employee, federal authorities alleged Thursday. And here's a picture of Jeffrey Blackwell at a Democrat gala. You can see Philadelphia for Obama sign in the background. He is beside Sheriff Jewel Williams, who people had been protesting to be forced out of his job amid harassment lawsuits. This other Democrat sheriff, Jewel Williams, getting the Philadelphia Democrat leader's early endorsement despite lingering concerns from the public over these harassment settlements. As for this indictment that's just been announced today, they're saying that Jeffrey Blackwell faces multiple counts of wire services fraud, falsifying tax returns, and failing to file a proper tax return. While working as a fraud investigator in the city controller's office, Blackwell used his political connections to help beef up his side business as a contractor. U.S. Attorney William McSween saying he then took contractors' money while promising to help them secure business and contracts with the city, which he rarely delivered, according to the feds. As a city employee, Blackwell owed a fiduciary duty of honest services to the citizens of Philadelphia. The U.S. Attorney saying today outside the federal courthouse in Philadelphia, adding, quote, "This duty must be untainted by illegal money and kickbacks." Blackwell had already resigned from the controller's office in 2015 after a news report about the sketchy side dealings. Blackwell faces 9 counts of honest services wire fraud, 1 count of federal program bribery, and 2 counts of willfully failing to file a tax return, according to the indictment unsealed Thursday. They did ask this other Democrat council member, Jeffrey's relative Janny Blackwell, for other comments reached in City Hall Thursday. Councilmember Janny Blackwell said news of the indictment came as a surprise and that she had not yet spoken with Jeffrey about it. She said, quote, "I don't know anything about it. He worked for the city, that's all I know. He loved politics and he liked his job." Federal authorities say that Jeffrey Blackwell knowingly falsified his federal tax returns to hide his income from these side contracting jobs. Blackwell earned an annual salary of about $90,000 while working at the controller's office. Blackwell is due to appear in federal court on September 12th. Have to see if there are any more comments to come from Janny Blackwell about this indictment against Jeffrey Blackwell. This event from 2016 that she had attended was a campaign event to promote Hillary Clinton. There's a few interesting details from that article from the time. Cory Booker was campaigning with Janny Blackwell and other Democrats in Pennsylvania to try to get Hillary Clinton elected in 2016 at this event. Quote here saying that strong turnout in Pennsylvania's largest city could cancel Trump votes elsewhere and keep the Keystone State in the Democrat camp, improving Hillary Clinton's chances of becoming the first woman U.S. president. The state is going to determine which way our country goes, Booker said back at this event in 2016. Janny Blackwell at this same event with Booker said at the time, quote, "People like to know their officials care enough to come to their neighborhoods and speak up for their candidate. This will make a big difference in Philadelphia, and this will help with turnout. So they really thought that this appearance with Booker and Janny Blackwell would get Hillary Clinton elected. Likely an important case and could lead to more, given all of these political connections between Jeffrey Blackwell's family and these high-level Democrats. Also, that he was using these political connections, the political connections of his family, in order to commit this fraud. And Jeffrey Blackwell was in charge of investigating fraud. That was part of his job while he was committing fraud of his own. A few more interesting details from the press conference earlier today announcing the 13-count superseding indictment, alleging that Blackwell committed a series of frauds, including accepting more than $22,000 in bribes and kickbacks, just as one part of the indictment. Quote from the U.S. Attorney on the case says, "Corruption is an insidious crime that must be destroyed wherever it is found. It is lethal and can literally suck the life out of an organization or even a city." Blackwell could end up with a major prison sentence if convicted, facing more than 30 years in prison if he is convicted. Philadelphia City Controller Rebecca Reinhart also said today, following the indictment, that today's announcement sends a clear message that these kinds of egregious actions won't be tolerated. Janny Blackwell should already soon be leaving City Council. She's been voted out of office recently after a record 8 terms, though she's still saying that she has a million things that she's trying to do before she leaves. Also notable that Jeffrey Blackwell's grandfather, who was a big advocate for Bill Clinton, ultimately lost his renomination for Congress to another corrupt Democrat who is currently serving 10 years in prison, Shaka Fatah. That's who ultimately won the primary, and Blackwell then went on to become a lobbyist after losing to Fatah. So obviously a long history of corruption in the area, and there's been a few updates on that other case with Shaka Fatah recently being resentenced. He was trying to get a lighter sentence. The judge did not go along with it. He's saying that he will still have to serve his 10-year sentence. There have actually been so many recent indictments against Democrats in Pennsylvania alone that they are worried that this might affect their chances against President Trump in 2020. A very powerful union leader who is connected to high-level Democrats recently indicted a massive 116-count indictment that also includes Democrat Philadelphia City Councilman Robert Hennon, both charged in this 116-count corruption indictment. That was this year. This case still ongoing, and it looked like the mainstream media was almost freaking out about this, saying that this is really going to hurt the Democrats' chances in 2020, as if this is the biggest problem with the whole case. I also covered this case with another Democrat, Philadelphia's longest-serving sheriff, getting 5 years in prison recently for a $675,000 bribery case. Article just from August, just this summer, saying Philadelphia's longest-serving sheriff was sentenced to 5 years in prison for using bribes from a businessman to help buy 2 homes and then awarding him millions in city contracts. John Green admitted to taking $675,000 from a friend and businessman James Davis in exchange for $35 million in city work. Quote at the time said, "This is the city that time and time again has been impacted by this very kind of corruption. You were supposed to be one of the good ones. The shame, your shame and the shame of the city is that you were not." So even the judge in that case, speaking about how this city has so many problems with corruption, and this sheriff is engaged in this scheme as these other Democrats also involved in these other cases. A lot going on just in Philadelphia. Been following some other similar cases recently. Please let me know what you think, any other connections that you have. I will continue to follow this story and follow up with any other details. Thank you.